It's time for School Spotlight on Global Take, presented by SchoolRubric. Let's learn more about the stories and information from schools around the world. What's your school story? We are flying all the way to South America in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, where I actually met Gustavo. And today we are highlighting the school where both Gustavo and I taught, which is Escola Americana do Rio de Janeiro, or the American School of Rio de Janeiro, otherwise known as EARJ. And if you look at that beautiful scene right there, I taught just right at that mountain called the Dois Irmãos, the Two Brothers Mountain, in a place called Gavia. And originally they had just one campus. Now they've expanded to two campuses in Gavia and Barra de Tijuca. This was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. It's where I met Gustavo. And so we're going to just kind of talk a little bit about some of the school activities and fun in Rio de Janeiro and at EARJ. So Gustavo, I'm going to pass it to you, and let's learn a little bit about some of the campus life or activities at school.
Ryan, it's so emotional for me to talk about EARJ. This is where everything started for me as a PE teacher in Rio, in Brazil, discovering that all those things existed in my city, a school that was engraved in the mountains, a school that had a huge infrastructure for PE activities and sports, where I had the chance to learn about climbing, for example, be a certified instructor in climbing and taking the kids to field trips where we were climbing the mountains of Rio. We had height elements inside our school. I also had the opportunity to coach sports and teach physical education, which are things that I love doing, and being around kids and influencing kids. That school is really, really dear to my heart, not to mention the connections that I made there, the amazing PE department and people that I worked with in all those years there. So that school was an incredible experience for me. And not to mention the Rio weather. And now living in Central Europe, I appreciate the weather that we had there much more.
Yeah, I have, Rio is so dear to my heart, and the school EARJ was just an amazing community. And what I loved, and you'll see in one of these pictures, that's actually right outside of my classroom. We're gearing up for the Rio World Cup, and my students had gifted me with this wonderful Brazilian national uniform. And so we just had, I still remember my classroom. It was just amazing. But what I really appreciated about EARJ was also the opportunities to interact with my students in different ways, whether it was through, coaching of futsal, which is a version of soccer. But we did so many cool things, like took the kids surfing, did bike rides on Ipanema Beach. We did climbing, as Gustavo mentioned. So all of those activities that kind of surround opportunities that we had because of where the location was were incredible for the students and also incredible for me. I'm going to pass it over to Gustavo, who's just going to talk a little bit about the cultural experiences of Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah, as a Carioca, it's easy for me to talk about Rio. Rio, for me, is a perfect place. You have everything to do depending on what you like, especially if you like to do outdoor activities, if you like to do sports. There's so many opportunities to be around. It's a big city, but at the same time, it keeps that nature around you. Everywhere you go, you see mountains, you see the ocean. And like I mentioned before, the weather is just unbelievable. So we had a chance to travel all over that beautiful country, not only the city of Rio, but the beautiful country of Brazil, and meet the people and enjoy the Brazilian culture, which is famous all over the world for being a happy, a group of people that are always happy and proud of who they are and their country. So talking about Rio is super easy for me. Like I mentioned to you offline, we can go hours and hours and hours talking about the great opportunities you have to travel and enjoy.
Spend the whole show talking about Rio. Before I kind of mentioned a few things. Gustavo, just explain to our viewers karaoke. You mentioned karaoke, and not everybody that knows what a karaoke is. What is a karaoke?
Carioca is when you were born in the city of Rio de Janeiro. That's how you're referred to, as a carioca, if you're born in that city. It's a name, but it brings a certain image and culture to it, and we're very proud, of course.
Yeah, cariocas, they're near and dear to my heart. I consider myself an America, which is American with a little bit of carioca in it. And I love that yours, when you put your pictures up, I love that your picture, of course, has skateboarding. Yeah, I've got skateboarding. There I am on top of one of my favorite hikes, which is a great hike right near Rio. And one thing that I loved was Megan talked about this earlier in the show, was that work-life balance, and you really had that living in Rio. So I would go from full day of teaching, and we would run, on days that I wasn't coaching, we would run to the beach and we'd be surfing at sunset right in Ipanema Beach, overlooking these beautiful mountains. And I really remember sitting there with a friend, and I'm getting kind of emotional about this. It's just, how lucky are we to be able to do this? And it really was something that we were really grateful for. And it just, that work-life balance was incredible. So, yeah, Rio is just near and dear to my heart. What a great experience. Well, this is the first ever school spotlight. So we're going to be doing this every week, where we spotlight a different school from the guest. And I know we didn't get to Megan and Nick's school, but I promise we will in the future. So stick around for next episode of Global Take, where we highlight a school in Thailand or in Austria.
Thank you for traveling across the globe with us to learn more about international schools. To hear more from international educators and learn more about these fantastic institutions, tune in to our live Global Take episodes as we highlight international schools in our School Spotlight section presented by SchoolRubric.